Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are Adventuresome Reviews, reviewing The Lost War by...
Oh, I actually, that's the one thing I didn't remember. Didn't bother to memorize. So the author's name is Justin Lee Anderson. Yes, we had to slog through many miles of snow and dragonfire just to read this book. It was quite harrowing, yes.
I ate slag with peppercorns.
That sounds like a terrible diet.
It was very fortifying. I felt a lot heavier after it.
Okay, well, there's the benefits of slag, I guess. Anyway, on to the synopsis. The war is over, but something is rotten in the state of Eiden.
Idian. Or Idian.
With a ragged peace in place, demons burn farms, violent reavers roam the wilds, and plague has spread beyond the Black Meadows. The country is on its knees. In a society that fears and shuns him, Aranok is the first magically skilled droida to be named King's Envoy. Now charged with restoring an exiled foreign queen to her throne, he leads a group of strangers across the ravaged country. But at every step, a new mystery complicates their mission. As bodies drop all around them, new threats emerge and lies are revealed. Can Aranok bring his companions together and uncover the conspiracy that threatens the kingdom? He cannot, but the book will suggest that it can. Oh, that actually is the end of the synopsis. Okay. Woo.
So, thoughts?
Marginally decent across the board, I should say.
I would agree with you. I really liked the ending. The ending was a little bit predictable from the context of the author prepared you for it, but I really like how it turned out. How all the pieces that the little clues he dropped through actually will together to create a really neat narrative.
So, throughout the book, the author introduces this consistent theme that something is slightly off, and he does it absolutely fantastically because you have this king, you have the king of the nation, and he's Arnok's best friend, right? You know, they slew the enemy demon lord together. They freed their
Except Minagog's not dead.
Okay, sorry, whatever.
Imprisoned, the dark evil wizard.
Yes, they defeated him and freed their country from tyranny and great many other evils together, right? So they have a friendship born in blood, and he is the king is this just downright nice guy across the board, pretty much. We don't really see him that much, but basically he is. He's the noble rebellion.
Yeah.
And so what makes the mystery really good is because as they're finding the clues, these clues are consistently finding their way to get tied back to this benevolent king, and it's like it really helps muddy the water because the king can't be evil. He's Aranok's best friend, right? And this really helps just make everything. And of course, the author sees this very well, and he resolves it in a way that's not like you could have suspected. You kind of suspected what was going to happen, but the way he brought about what happened, or the method by which he
the actual story behind it
was really good. I did not foresee that at all, and it did a great job of actually building up the villain as a powerful force of great threat, and there's basically everything in the story. It's like from kind of wrapped up in this end reveal.
Yeah,
and so it's just an excellent job of tying the various diverse narratives together. It's like nothing is out of place, and even the kind of offshoots and random adventures that take place are all feeding into either the mystery or the eventual reveal.
Yeah,
the mystery is probably like the best part of the book, and it completely elevated it to fairly decent standards.
I didn't find the mystery itself that compelling because it was one of those things where
it was a fantastically handled mystery, though, because I did not know what was going on, which is always nice as the reader.
While I did not know what was going on specifically, I had suspicions about where it was going to end up, And the only thing that really surprised me was the exact mechanics of it, which or what I really liked. But the actual mystery itself, I I had already from chapter one I had parsed off that it as a potential the result as a potential result.
Yeah, but
And
still, you the the fact that you could not discern how the author was going to pull this off, and you didn't see the threads. It's like the fact it was not so blatantly obvious what was going on opened the door to other potential
agreed.
reasonings.
I didn't find the mystery element as transcendently enjoyable as you did.
I suppose, but it's still because
It's fine that you liked it. I just didn't.
for me, it's a really strong example of how to actually incorporate a mystery into the story. Because what the author did not do is the author did not drop clues, right? That you could eventually, as the reader, you could parse together and eventually build up the tapestry of the story and basically discover it for yourself. No, what he did is he dropped glitches in the matrix, I'm gonna call it.
Yeah.
Right? Things he didn't give you clues, he gave you inconsistencies.
And he often explained them, which is well done. Like he explained them believably.
So he did not give you tools to resolve the mystery. He just made it really clear that there was something rotten going on, and that, for me, it was a really nice handling of the mystery.
My opinion on the characters varies somewhat. Because Aronok has a pretty nice personality with being paranoid and unlikable, and a character that the author actually makes at times unlikable, and his character was well delivered and well exposited from that viewpoint. But a lot of the other characters lack the same breadth for me, or it didn't.
Aronok is
because like Samily is very much she's one of the characters, a holy knight hoss that kills demons and is quite effective at that.
And actually, the book does a decent job of building up her knight order to be fairly impressive. And there's
White Thorns, I thought they were called.
Yeah, the White Thorns, which in itself is a fairly decent name. But throughout the course of the story, you see Samily pulling off these respectably impressive kills and such. So it actually you have some cinematography, visually impressive moments.
Yeah. But her character was very simplistic and one-dimensional of devoutly religious
holy order.
Not holy order, because there's a lot of ways you can explore that particular narrative in someone, but she was so one-dimensional, full belief, not naive per se, but not necessarily goody two-shoes, but almost saccharine sweet at times without it being any play around. She was just shallow of a personality. And the other characters, while not as extreme as her, they did not bring the same depth that Aronok did. And Aronok's flaw is that while I liked that he was unlikable and paranoid, he didn't bring enough of the other side to balance it out. He didn't have enough scenes where you liked Aronok.
I did not have that problem with Aronok because, one, I understood him. I did not feel the need for him to be redeemed because
no, I'm not saying redeemed.
I know.
It'd be nice if he did something nice every so often.
Became a little less of a bastard. But he was never really that great of a bastard, and just the entire arc is him being not the entire arc, but the entire throughout the book, his direction throughout the book is him marching toward a goal that is him not being a bastard. So I did not have any problems with Aronok's character. Much like you, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
But you see, that's the thing is that I didn't see a character arc.
There was not a character arc, no.
I think there was no character progression, nothing like that. Not saying that a character has
that was actually a subject I was going to bring up in this. I am less aggrieved by the characters than you are. However, I was also found myself slightly dissatisfied, and what my resolution to that was all the characters feel stagnant in the story.
which almost makes sense for the narrative in of
And
itself.
even the
but
main character who could be geared toward an arc, or you actually have two, right? You have Samly, who is a young mystic knight, and then you have the requisite hero moment of Aronok saving an orphan, right? Who then tags along with Aronok. Neither of those characters have any development. Samly, she was kind of. This is the first time she comes out of the convent per se. She, at most, she is confronted by Aronok's atheism.
and that might be some of why I didn't like Aronok versus like their characters as much, is because they had that very simplistic atheistic versus religious debate,
And nothing
it's
really came of it.
but it's also nothing you've not. It's some everything they said is something you've read 3, 4 other places.
Yeah, and it would have been better if Samly actually reacted to this, if her faith was actually shaken to some extent. I agree that it is a cliched narrative, but that does not mean it does not have its charms. And the fact is that it was a narrative that didn't affect the story at all. It was basically just them butting heads, not even butting heads and coming away angry from each other. It didn't necessarily build tension. It did absolutely nothing to the story.
I, my point about I don't know if that would have improved the story is that even if she did find a crisis of faith that she eventually overcomes
Yeah.
or submits to, the arguments leveled against her are still arguments you've read before, so it's still a narrative arc more or less built on faulty foundations.
Yeah. But my main
Point was that it doesn't go anywhere, nothing happens with it.
yes. And so back to the original point of Samly is ripe for character development. She is faithful, secluded in the convent, thrust out into a world of non-believers, right? And she is heroic, and her character does not change at all throughout the story. You get revelations, but not a single revelation changes her in any noticeable her personality in any noticeable way.
I quite liked the plague subplot. One of the maledictions beleaguering the kingdom is that you have a plague that turns people into zombies.
I'm going to stop you right here because this is a really good part to insert one of the things I really liked. And really early on in the story, the author sets the scene fantastically, right? So Arnok and his crew have just been not ousted, but deployed on their mission, and you have this brief discussion wherein the author describes the state of the world, right? And what you have is you have a plague of zombies encroaching from the west. You have all their ports under siege by pirates. They cannot get any income from the ports. You have demons attacking the farmlands. It is literally there is enemies on all sides, and the place is going up in flames. And Arnok is only one man. Is how is he going to deal with all of these fires? And it set the scene really well for me. Back to you and the zombies.
And so you have the plague and it's zombies and stuff comes out and that narrative progresses, and it both provides narrative tension and conflict that I really enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to get too much into spoilers. Not that it's like really spoilerish, but it's part of the final narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And people get infected, like members of his team get infected by the plague.
The wrong members,
and it's just
the wrong members narratively. He picked the wrong members to get sick, basically.
I didn't think that much.
It would have been much better if Elandria fell sick. Elandria is basically the girlfriend of Aronok, and their romance is well underway as when the story begins. So they're practically an old married couple.
Yeah. But it's just the author uses the plague in a couple of different ways that I found really enjoyable, and it provides both moral conflict and an immediate peril and danger in its scenes, and I just felt it was a really well handled scene. It was one of that sort of where you're really dealing with the plague up front and center. And even when they went to try and find the device to deal with it, and then you had the flashback sequence, that was the strongest portion of the book for me. Just because you went from tense and moral conflict, like real moral conflict,
Mm-hmm.
and real issues that they had to deal with if they wanted to resolve this. It's not just
The book really does get going at the midway point. Like, before, the first half is not bad, right? Which is saying quite a bit. But the second half is really pretty good.
yes, but that is it's specifically it's not bad, but it's not quite good. You have your dangers, but you're not sure if you really want. You're not really sure if you like the characters yet, and for me that never really changes because the characters they have personalities, but they're very. Alejandria is so supportive and good in her own way, and I liked Alondria. She was Hoss, etc., and Samly was Hoss as well.
Alondra had a really nice has a really nice relationship with Aranok, and most of her character's charm comes from her interactions with Aranok and just how well they know one another.
But she doesn't have much of a narrative or a personality outside of that. Just like Samly doesn't have much of a personality outside of her
Holy Maiden, actually. Holy Maiden is actually a really good way to describe Samly.
Yes, but also that implies a level of naivete that she doesn't really have. Because she's not.
But what it also means is kind of purity.
Yeah.
And she's untarnished by the world in all ways.
Which makes her kind of boring.
Yeah. But she's not necessarily innocent to the world. She's just kind of shining light.
But you have your perils for this first half, but the perils are mishaps on the road perils. They would fly or sink entirely depending on the author's ability to write action. And the author was all right at action. He did some scenes quite well, other scenes more.
He does significantly better than other authors because none of the action scenes take terribly long, so it doesn't bog down the story, which is pretty much the base level for a good action scene.
Yeah, but it's still it takes a while for an actual concrete narrative to manifest in the story, and it's not until they reach the play, which is about the halfway point, that you have that narrative that you can follow, and rather an immediate narrative instead of a distant, just hit the destination and mishaps happen on the road.
That being said, things of interest do happen in the first half of the story because Arnok goes to this one city that's supposedly under siege, and only it's not, which is like, ooh, big mystery, and his family's there, and he went to the city directly against orders, so it's all sorts of exciting and interesting.
And then there's some slight horror scenes with rather creepy monstrosities that attack them and eat their horses, and it's just
they come into contact with a demon, and they're getting their tukuses whooped, and then Samblay comes flying out of nowhere, leaps sky high, and basically guillotines the poor demon. It's really cool.
Very, I wouldn't say cool, very exaggerated.
But still, it's, it's big smote from heaven type thing.
So that was, like, the final complaint, and it's not like it's a personal preference complaint. I did not particularly enjoy the magic expression.
Magic expression was boring.
So
better than some, but
so what Aronok did with the light and the spider monsters, I liked a lot. That was a cool use of the magic. But Aronok's magic, he has what's called earth magic. He's a dryad or dryode.
Basically, he has access to fire and earth elements,
but also light and. They said Earth, but at the end of the book, you had no idea what he could really do. Like, you know what he could do, but you didn't know if there was anything else he could do. There was very little hard grounding in the magic, but part of my issue was that he had enough in him for one spell per fight. One decent spell, and it was like, oh, I'm so weak, I'm out of power. And it's like, I want you to see you use magic, cool magic and spells. You don't have to be overpowered, and I fully appreciate giving your character limits, but it would be nice if you could do more than throw one blast of wind and then go, ugh, I'm tired.
It would have been better if resource management actually became a narrative in the story.
But it did it. He would use his magic and then have
Yeah,
to
yeah,
run
yeah.
around and try and do without magic.
Yeah, but kind of as part of the planning sessions, like they have this trial to go through, and the conversation is, I only have 2 good spells in me per day. How do we want to use this? And it's instead of just in the middle of a fight, 1 spell and done, actually make use of the resource management, actual conversations between the characters, or in Arnok's mind, a litany going, do I want to use my spell here, or later? Do I save it for a time when I really need it?
Yeah.
That would have made the magic slightly better.
Some of it is also that I'm pretty sure he was supposed to be, quote unquote, a very powerful wizard / dryad, and he just anytime, and part of it is that not only did he have 1 spell, but oftentimes I just found his spells underwhelming.
He occasionally used them well as creative solutions to a predicament he was facing, but he kind of mostly it was create a wall of earth or blast of air and stuff like that.
Yeah, very simplistic, but also just not fun to use.
He did create a miniature sun once, which was really pretty cool.
Yeah, that was the part I liked.
So, a qualm I had with the story is a character Vastin, who is a 15-year-old blacksmith that Arnok saves from debt, pretty much. Basically, he pays the kid's taxes for him. After which the kid promises undying loyalty and then proceeds to do absolutely nothing throughout the rest of the story.
Yeah.
He could, apart from a hero moment, he supplied nothing to either the narrative or the flow of events or anything.
Yeah, but the only person who really supplied a lot to the narrative, well, people, was Aronach and Samali.
Yeah, but the others were at least combatants per se, or they clashed with him because Glorbad, who is a character we have not touched on. There we are, haha. But wait, we'll continue with tossed on because I'm cool. We have not tossed onto the discussion here. Is a bit similar to Arnok, wherein that he's a curmudgeon, and he and Arnok don't really see eye to eye, and this actually enjoys some of their interactions because some of their earliest interactions is Arnok says, go by this gate. Okay, and then Arnok, or actually no, it's, we're going to meet at this gate and leave through this gate. Only to later show up and drag them out through a different gate because because Arnok has such massive trust issues. Paranoia and trust issues, and this is a constant discussion between them as Glorbad is like, trust us, and Arnok is like, no, I don't trust anybody, except for maybe Alondria over here.
Yeah.
And so Glorbad is a fighter, and he butts heads, and he contends with the other characters of the party, and then you have Vastin. Vastin's not even a fighter. He doesn't contend. He's not even a decent sycophant. He's just there, somebody to protect, basically. And then he's the one who falls prey to the plague, and it's just like, I don't care. This affects the story not at all. And it's just, Arnok has to rescue the poor sucker again, or then he's dead and he can't be rescued.
The one character I did pretty much like through and through and on every level was Meristen.
Okay, yeah. Meristen is a high priest, and he is Samali's mentor / adopted father.
He is a huge man.
Basically, imagine the bear of a man.
Yeah, but he is both a coward throughout the story, like very much considers himself a coward, and is in small degrees suffering with survivor's guilt. But he's also sort of the wise, nice person, but he actually lands it in a way that Samali doesn't.
Yeah, he is picture perfect Christian priest or what have you. Just the best you can expect from that character archetype.
Yeah.
A perfect exemplification.
But it was just his flaws and his character stuff flared up just enough to let you know they were there and to give him flavor and depth without being really loud about it.
Yeah,
and it's just, I liked him, and
yeah, and even
I even really liked the ending. Like,
wow. Yeah. the ending, once again, is just really good for the book. It does so many fantastic things. It does one thing I really don't like, and it has to do with Elandria and Arnok. It might have a reason later on, because even the characters comment on the fact that it doesn't quite make sense. But elsewise, the ending does a lot of things really, really well.
Yeah. So I was kind of mediocre on the book. It was a solid-ish 3 stars compared to the beginning to the middle. But the ending for me brings it up to a very good 3.5, almost 4 stars. I really liked how the ending just, but it was a really clever ending.
I'm gonna give it 4 stars, simply because the ending for the book is almost the most important thing, because particularly if you don't drag your feet too much getting to the ending, and you really don't.
Yeah.
Right? As with any book, the initial quarter is kind of slow. Okay, most times.
I disagree with that.
Okay,
There's plenty of books that get off to a plenty interesting start fast.
I suppose, yeah. Regardless, the Lost War does not drag its feet too unbearably much. I was not bored. I wasn't bored throughout the book, ever.
I would agree with that.
And so basically, not boring with a fantastic ending, and so 4 stars, maybe 4.25.
Yeah. I'm taking off a quarter mostly just because you shouldn't have to wait to the end of the book to get a really good scene.
Yeah, you didn't have to wait to the end of the book to get a really good scene. It's just the end of the book was the standout scene.
You shouldn't. It should not take the ending of a book to make a book.
I suppose, but still, it was a fantastic scene. The sort that should be met with flaring trumpets and giant waving crowds of people taking up their heads and chucking them around. It's great excitement.
That would be an interesting scene.
Yes. No, I'm telling you that's what the scene should be met with.
A horrible cleanup day after, though.
Psh, the slaves can take care of it.
Yes. Anyway, toodaloo. See y'all laters. Have fun. Get lucky. We wish you all the best you can get.
Fare thee well, our future friends.